Live streaming.
Just about. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Mine says it's now streaming. Hello. I don't know. We're trying to live stream our podcast this Thursday morning.
Thanksgiving, actually.
November the 23rd. So it's hard to tell a story while I'm rolling out pie crust. When I was in middle school, I believe, I had home economics class. In the 80s, the boys and girls all did like a quarter of a year home economics, a quarter of a year shop. I don't know, there were like 4 different things. And we were doing a cooking unit, and we had to plan and prepare a meal. And I remember I had some rice pilaf recipe. I don't know if it was something I got from class. And I remember I made hamburgers with it, and pretty sure there was a dessert. It might have been like an apple crumble dessert. And so I had to prepare this and plan this. And so I'm a teenager. My sister's older than me, my younger brother. So we're all around, who knows, 10, 13, and 16. And I set out to prepare this meal. And I can't remember what order I did things in. I just know that it took me a lot longer than anticipated to make everything. And by the time dinner was ready, it was like 8 p.m. and people were off doing their things. They had to go places. And I remember thinking back on it that it was such a simple meal. It was like rice pilaf and hamburgers. And I'm not sure if there was something else to go with that. And then this dessert that I made that took me, I don't know how many hours to make, but it was about the timing of it. And we all kind of laughed about it. And my sense of timing has always been a bit of my challenge. And it was yummy. It just wasn't ready until people had other things to do. So that's my cooking story.
Well, hello, this is Don.
And this is Gina.
The Focused Healthy Family. And this is podcast number 86. And it's about being prepared.
And today is Thanksgiving, and this is the first time we are live streaming our podcast. And you've removed your earbuds.
For a reason I'm hearing because it's on YouTube, and
we're both in our kitchen.
And we're really not prepared to know how to do YouTube very well. We still are very novice at this.
We're talking about being prepared, and yet we're not fully prepared yet. Despite moving and all the stuff we have going on, we're committed to having our regular podcasts.
So we're recording this. For those that are listening to a recording, you're not getting it live, but you that are on YouTube are seeing us live as we do this.
Do you want to start with the message that you shared with me this morning?
Yeah. Well, first thing I wanted to do, I got to get it. I didn't think about it. Got to get my phone out, but there's a message that we get every morning from Neil Donald Walsh,
who is the author of Conversations with God, if you're not familiar.
Let me get to it here.
No matter what your beliefs are, you can insert universe or whatever into the. Oh, I rolled this out too thin.
Well, again, this is Thanksgiving morning, so he's talking about gratitude. That gratitude in advance. So he starts out really, I should say, on this day of your life, Donald, I believe God wants you to know that gratitude in advance is the most powerful creative force in the universe. Most people do not know this, yet it is true. Expressing thankfulness in advance is the way of all masters. So do not wait for a thing to happen and then give thanks. Give thanks before it happens and watch the energy swirl. To thank God before something occurs is an act of extraordinary faith. And that, of course, is where power comes from. It's Thanksgiving Day in the U.S. Why not make it Thanksgiving Day in the hearts of people everywhere, all the time? I thought that was really, talking about being prepared.
I intended to start before the pie making to I have a journal where I do mostly that. I also do thank gratitude after the fact, but I also like to thank in advance as I start my day. And when I started doing this with my job, it really turned around how my day went. And I was going to do that as an example here and actually write in my journal. And I didn't do it. And so my pie crust did not come out the way I wanted it to. But I realized it's noisy using my Ninja to make my dough. And so I did that before we started. So I am just going to make it work here as we talk.
Yes, we have Gina Julia Child Rodolph here. And time to be happy. I'm gonna make some pumpkin pie this morning. Good evening. Oh, good morning. Oh, thanks,
Good afternoon.
But it was, we were talking about what we were gonna, the idea and theme was today, and since she was preparing pumpkin pie for our meal this evening with our my in-laws, your parents, and the idea of being prepared came to mind. And of course, I went back to my childhood as a scout, and one of the mottos of scouting is be prepared. And I thought it was interesting. I'd read the actual definition of that. It says, be prepared in mind by having disciplined yourself to every order, and also by having thought out beforehand any accident or situation that might occur, so that you know the right thing to do at the right moment and are willing to do it.
Is that definition specific to Boy Scouts?
That's the definition
Okay.
of be prepared, motto of Boy Scouts.
Okay, because Girl Scouts, I was a Girl Scout.
What, do you remember theirs?
No.
Well, I think had a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, it's just, so you and I started talking about how to be prepared as a parent for life's adventures, and you brought up the idea of, since you're doing baking, the difference between baking and cooking.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
So baking is chemistry, and there's an exactness to the science of, we watch the Great British Baking Show, and if you don't get the right proportions, if you don't do things in the right way, it doesn't come out right. So I'm making a pie crust, and I need the right proportions of fat to flour and to make it come out right. And yet with cooking, we can add a little of this and a little of that.
A pinch and a dab.
It has, right, it's a little different. It has more leeway, more forgiveness maybe with it.
Well, yeah, I was starting down that baking is precise, measured, a little bit strict, structured. And then you look at cooking, it's a little more loose. Like I said, I put a pinch and a dab. Which
is funny, because despite the structured role of baking, sometimes I have to fudge it a little bit and make my pie crust fit. But parenting is not baking. You can't say exactly this and do exactly this, and you're going to get this outcome with your kid. It's messy.
Well, I looked at both of them.
Like
they are both
baking.
messy.
Yes, and I am the messy.
Common thread. It's just how you get there. Just like life, life is messy.
Oh, my crust covers. Being prepared. So in the first time I'm making a pie in my new kitchen, the first time I'm doing.
Did you get the stove oven going?
Yes, the first time I'm doing any baking in my new kitchen, and I have a wider counter surface, which I'm enjoying. We had someone put an epoxy resin on our woodblock counters, and they didn't do it right. So it's a little lumpy.
A little lumpy.
So I was thinking as I was rolling out my pie crust, it's not going to be flat. But that's okay. So we're gluten-free, and I make a gluten-free pie crust. Shout out to Mary Harrington, because she gave me the recipe and it's amazing. And the key is putting down saran wrap, because it sticks. It's different than regular dough. It doesn't have the gluten in it. And I started wrapping my rolling pin with, I used to put one layer on top and one layer under, but this is so much more effective. And so I've learned these tricks over the years as we learn trips and
Trips.
tricks
Yeah,
and
you know,
tips
so
with parenting.
that I agree. But yeah, so looking at life and how do you be prepared for life? How do you be prepared for parenting? Because they're both very messy. So you know, one of the thoughts I had is that we have to, by being prepared means a willingness to let go, let life kind of flow, which means that kind of comes across in a fluffy way when you talk about letting it flow. It's very esoteric or whatever you want to call it. But in reality, letting it flow is also planning and preparing too. It's
Yeah.
kind of a oxymoron.
I have, in order to make this pie, I had to have all the ingredients. So a little story. We're going to my mom's, mom and dad's for Thanksgiving. Even though they're eager to see our new house, it's a lot for them to travel, and we're an hour and 15 minutes from them. And it's difficult for my mom to drive in the dark. So we're planning to go there. I always offer to help with my mom. Because I've had moving and working and all this on my mind, I haven't really had baking on my mind, which is quite unusual for me because this time of year, I'm all about the baked goods. And I got a text message from my mom, and she said, "Are you going to bring your famous pumpkin pie?" And it's really kind of funny because it is gluten-free and it's also dairy-free, but everybody loves it. And there's usually someone else brings a glutinous store-bought pie, but nothing like homemade pie. So I was very flattered by that and like, oh yeah, I need to make a pie. And then I realized I need the ingredients. And it was just 2 days ago, I think. And I'm like, Don, because I worked yesterday, can you go to the store? Luckily I had the cookbook out and I found the recipe for it and the ingredients that we needed. And you were able to go to the store for me to get everything I needed. And I thought about making it last night when I came home from work. And we had this idea of doing the podcast while pie making. And I forgot the crust needs to be made. And I make it in my Ninja and it's noisy. Anyways, here we are making pie. Where was I going with this? Being prepared. So having the ingredients, having all the things I need, which is extra challenging when we've only been in this house a month and there are still boxes in our garage and still things that we do not know where they are. Yet I do have what I need to make the pie today.
And it just came to me, this thought of, you know, I read off what Neil Donald Walsh said about gratitude in advance. And if you think about it, that's almost kind of like preparing. It just kind of came to me that I thought when you're putting out thankfulness, it's like preparing for the thing to happen. Whatever you're desiring, you're
I'm listening to
yeah.
you.
I mean,
Preparing in advance. Yes, I'm preparing in advance. I am
by saying,
yes.
posting gratitude
Yes.
and thankful for something you know is happening.
So what this might have looked like, I get up in the morning, I know I'm making pie, I know what's happening today, and I write in my journal, and I use the word God, insert what you want, but thank you for successful pie making and podcast recording with Don today, and enjoying time with family and safe travels as we drive, and connecting with people and remembering what's important. And I'm grateful for this day and to have this opportunity to spend with several of my family members. And
Probably online we'll do something, maybe, you know, maybe we can connect up with Darren and stuff by Zoom or something during the day just to say hi, you know,
or our daughter who's in Raleigh
that too,
and
yes.
working today. It's Thursday, so she works till 6.
So just a thought came to me. I just want to run this by. This is off kind of top of my head, but what do we say about when you do that, when you put out gratitude, and then the thing happens the opposite or doesn't happen?
Wow, you're getting deep for.
What is a little deep? Yeah. but it's a thought, yeah, and I think, well, just get your thoughts first.
Well, it doesn't always show up in the way that you anticipate.
Okay,
So being grateful and yet letting go of expectations and trusting
and you hear the cats giving their things.
in the process.
Well, I think I agree with that, but good I think that it also is how you take your mind. If you're saying, I'm grateful in preparation and faith of it happening, but then your mind goes to, yeah, but I don't have it, and it's not, and you know, you do Esther Hicks and Abraham Hicks talks about this, that a lot of times if we put our focus towards what we desire, we're creative beings. That's her idea, and her belief is that we create from our lives and our mind.
I desire more pie, so this is another pie.
Yes, sorry if I thought of. Where was I now?
We've created our mind, our desire.
Yeah, we put our focus, like that's the way we're supposed to do it. What we focus towards, what we think about, what we create up here is what is supposed to come to us. And the faith is a part of that focus. Yet when it doesn't come to us, what she's saying is that we turn our focus towards it, but then slowly but surely we go to the fact of, yeah, but we don't, like if we want, say we want $1 million or something, we're envisioning that pretty quickly. We turn our minds to, yeah, but our bank account says 0, or our bank account has $2 in it or something. And then we start to focus towards the not having and not.
Right. And it's not that you can't have a negative thought. It's just where are you putting your time and your energy towards it. I've been rewatching Friends, and rest in peace, Matthew Perry. And I watched the first episode, when Ross is talking about he's getting divorced because it turns out his wife is gay. And he goes, I just want to be married. And Rachel Green walks in her wedding dress. And Chandler looks up and goes, I just want $1 million. Manifesting, right? So it doesn't always look that blatant. And
well, it takes effort. That's where the preparedness, I think, comes in.
I can't just say I want a pumpkin pie if I don't have the ingredients, if I don't set aside the time to put it together. And if we want a good relationship with our children, we can't just bake them into existence. You're going to follow my rules, and you're going to do this and this and this, and you're going to get good grades, and then you're going to go to college and get a good job. You've got to little. There's a song like that. Yeah, I've lost my train of thought again. I need to bake my. Well, it's the idea that you can't sit in a closet and just meditate and think thoughts and have them drop in your lap. There's my thought. Sorry. So if you want to have a good relationship with your children, it's about being in the moment with them and thinking about the long range aspect of the relationship and putting that before them getting good grades and getting in the best college and having the best career. Not that all of us do that, but some parents start out with those expectations in mind and forget about the relationship part, and then they're frustrated when their teenagers are not listening to them, and they're engaging in activities that are putting themselves in harm, and yet they're rebelling because of all these rules and restrictions, and it didn't give them the opportunity to express and explore and be who they really are. Yes, go deep with that. Huh? Yeah, I get into these thoughts, and then I'm like, what rack does the crest go on? There's a good vision. Oh, my visual. Well, yeah. Timer. So keep talking, Don. Your view is very interesting. Yes, okay, so I bent over to put the pie in the oven and saw my rear end. It's part of the course. Raw dough, yum. You're supposed to be the organized
I'm
one.
supposed to be organized. It's,
I'm making the pie,
I guess I wasn't as prepared for being prepared
as you thought you were.
well, like I said, we, this has been kind of a crazy morning getting your stuff ready and all.
And yet we have that expectation of putting out a weekly podcast. We
Yeah.
made that commitment to do that. And we also gave ourselves grace. The day of closing, our house was a Thursday.
For
And
that Wednesday night, yes.
we had the intention of doing I guess a live podcast on the day of closing, or I can't remember.
No, we were gonna do it the night we were packing, I think is what I remember right, but it just got so crazy.
So that's the
packing.
one week we gave ourselves grace that we didn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
That week, and that's okay. And yet we're committed to continuing our podcast and growing our business. And so we're
getting better and better at being prepared for it. I mean, we did a little bit of thought provocation.
not promotion.
I make up my own words. It's wonderful.
We really did get a good night's sleep. There's no alcohol consumed.
We're just like this normally.
We're just laughing at life. And
Well, how messy it is, because our life has been very messy.
yes, and when I bake,
But
it
you know,
gets messy, doesn't it?
it goes
Don?
into that idea of a creative mind is a messy mind, or being creative. Messy is very
It's a
creative.
sign of genius, my father told me.
Yes. So how are you prepared whether we're talking to you as a new parent or a parent to be, and how
Whether your children are all grown up, you can always
you're preparing for how to continue to build that relationship.
You didn't get out the spices. I was gonna have all these things ready so that I could be like on the
Yes.
cooking show and they're in.
To have the spices today with our cooking.
I love when they have them in neat little bowls and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
just dump them in. It's like, I want to see the show before they're there with
With a
all
map.
their.
Where the
Yes.
hell? Oh, what? Julia changes voices. Where is my spices?
Which is actually very interesting because,
Yeah, how they prepare for.
well,
Yeah, they always have everything nicely cut and prepped in bowls and.
yeah, and I have, my kitchen currently, let's see if I do this. We have this narrow little cabinet, so it didn't quite fit all our spices and it needed a smaller lazy Susan. And so for some reason, most of it's here, but some of it's over there.
Yeah, we talked about moving.
And again, I realized once we dive in and start doing things, it's kind of like parenting. You have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And I had to unpack some things and just give it a go and then realize, okay, I think I did that. The silverware you would put over there because you thought it would be good to have them close to the table. And then I was unloading the dishwasher and I went, no, I need my silverware drawer right here so I can unload it. And so sometimes we have to dive in and life is messy. And
I'm sorry.
And so like with parenting, you have to reorganize. You need to love the child you have, not the one you thought you were going to have. And each child is different. And we need to respond to them and respect them in who they are, how they learn, how they process information, and understanding what works for them, what doesn't.
Well, you can read and prepare for parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And get some knowledge behind you, but know that that's not the whole ball of wax. That's not the whole thing. It's going to be learn as you go.
Look at the child that you have and the
divide out
situation that you're in, and
divide out the messages you get from others that don't fit for you. Listen to others, but don't. We had to. One of the processes in our development of our business was, we listened to professionals, doctors, books. I mean, Gina, you did a lot of research on parenting and all before we got into it. But yet,
use them both, but don't make as much noise.
while making noise, getting
Playing
prepared for
around, getting my ingredients together to
but you can be prepared as far as being a parent with knowledge and information, advice, all of that you get. But you have to then divide it out, the things that don't feel right to you, that don't fit right for you. And know that then you're also going to learn as you go, and that's okay, because nobody really has all the
Has everything all figured out, has
Yeah.
all the answers
all the answers.
that when you think you have all the answers, that's when.
So being prepared is also going on faith, that to let it flow and know that when you let it go, that
Let it go. I'm not gonna sing.
yeah. And if you're wondering, I'm looking up all the time because I'm sitting across from Gina and looking at her as we're talking, which I really need to be looking at the camera probably more, a little better. But yeah, she and I are across the room from each other doing this. And hopefully, I'm hoping the sound is going to be good, which I don't know. I didn't really.
Half a
test it.
teaspoon of salt.
She's measuring that.
I don't have all my spices right here in front of me so that I could do this as we talk. That was the vision I had in my head. Forgot about the whole making of the pie crust. And so like this recipe that I've tried different pumpkin pie recipes over the years, and I use coconut milk for it instead of dairy-based milk. And it takes longer to set. And I've tried it with different types of coconut milk, and it can affect how it comes out. And I don't always use the exact same type of milk, and my other ingredients might be tweaked slightly. This recipe calls for a 29 ounce can of pumpkin, which I think this technically makes 2 pies. I'm trying to remember. Getting into a groove and a rhythm again with moving has been, I think, the biggest challenge for me. Is things are in different places. It's like as I'm making this, I'm facing a different direction than I used to.
Oh.
And just those little things.
Distraction for you. Could be a little distracting. Facing out this way, looking at cats running around making noise in the outside windows. And
yeah, well, normally I would be facing the table, but I'd be standing this way. At least in my brain, I would be.
I'm facing the table. I'm sitting at the table.
I know, but in the other house, it was this way, and the table was over here.
Okay.
The kitchen's flipped.
So all that said, well, and being prepared is being flexible too, for the adaptable and flexible, because, like you said, your mom mentioned to you what, yesterday or day before, about the pie,
Yes.
and then having, okay, oh, wow, we have to change gears and go this direction at last minute. That's a big part of parenting. I know that. Being able to
Deal with the unexpected.
You can't prepare for that. So the best way to prepare for it is to be open in mind and willing to flow with it and just move forward, and not I want to say bitch and moan about it. Can we say that on there?
This is a podcast. We can choose to do how we like. We usually try to keep it
But keeping our focus in a direction that serves us, I guess, is the best way, instead of saying a positive. And when things happen, being able to maintain and flow with it, no matter what. And we've had a lot of instances, both bad and good, that we've had to flow with.
You spilled your cloves. Luckily, I didn't spill extra cloves into the bowl. I just spilled it all over the counter.
So I guess maybe we should look at how to kind of refresh our thoughts here, or kind of a sum up.
Parenting is messy. It's not a precisely baked pie that would show up on the Great British Baking Show, where everything is, when they make 12 or of something, everything has to be even. And I'm always like, but why does each role have to look identical? Like, why is that the ideal? What about the character and charm of them looking slightly different? Well, and I understand the chemistry of it having the same size so they all bake evenly, and yet my life is not the Great British Baking Show. I'm not raising my children to be little evenly divided pastries.
Good analogy.
We're living a messy life where the cloves go flying through the air and splatter across the counter. And
but, you know, in a way though, what it could be with the baking show is they wanted to do it kind of like, I don't know if I want to say perfectly, but they wanted to learn how to do it first, and then the messy can come next, you know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They come there, the show, they're pretty
try to do it.
They're not brand new.
Trying to do it the best they can, in other words, to start so they learn, you know, because we tend to, after we learn something, we tend to get a little used to it, or, you know, take it for granted kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's just a show. We can't equate that with life, is what my point was, that
kids aren't like a muffin that can be,
and life is not going to flow in a perfect way, and there's an acceptance that comes with that. Like you said, putting the positive intentions out there, you know, for holidays. Okay, we're going to this family member's house and they do these things and it irritates us. Okay, so we know that we can anticipate that that can happen. How can we prepare ourselves for that? Okay, I'm going to have some tools. I can step away. I'm going to have my earbuds, that I can have some calming music, and talking with our children about this if they have those experiences with family members or they feel frustrated with it. And maybe you allow them to bring an electronic game or something so that they can kind of have that space. And then maybe you have judgmental family members who say they're always on their electronics. Why can't they be part of the family? And there's all these different things that we can anticipate. And it's realizing what your values are, what is important to you as a family, and holding to that when you're in different spaces, and especially around family members, and being an advocate for your child and figuring out ahead of time and even talking that through with your kids. Okay, this might happen, and this, you know, how can we respond? How can I help you in that moment? How can we be supportive of each other? How can we reconnect and remember what our values are, even if it looks different than other friends or family members, and honor our wanting to enjoy the time with the people that we're getting together with, and being respectful of them and their rules, or and yet still honoring. It comes back to the children, and remembering that they are people and that their feelings do matter, and that we need to listen to them when they say, I hate grandma and I don't want to go there, or whatever they say. We need to really listen and open up and be open to what is underlying that, because there's something more. They're not just being difficult. They're out of their routines. When they're off school, they're home from break from college or whatever, they're out of their routine. And so it can throw things off, and they've got different feelings and emotions and things going on that we don't even realize. And we need to take that time to stop and listen and remember what's important. It's Thanksgiving in the US right now, however you celebrate or don't celebrate it. But thinking about holidays of any tradition, coming together as family gatherings, and knowing how busy things can get, and taking that time to be grateful for what you have, setting up some fun rituals of gratitude where we, you know, say what we're grateful for at dinner, or making a bowl of gratitude. One year we did it for our manger scene. We had pieces of paper that we colored yellow to look like straw, and we wrote things we were grateful for. There's different traditions and things that you can do. And remember, it's not about the doing of it, it's the process. It's the taking that time to be that example of gratitude, and also knowing when you've got to let go of those expectations and figure out in the moment, how are we going to deal with this? And
so that's the podcast for today, for Thanksgiving.
And thinking about gratitude and sending love and healing to the people of the world where there's conflict going on as we record this, and people who don't right now have that opportunity to just get together and be with those they love. And it's time to take the crust out.
And so we hope that you've enjoyed this, uh, our live project here. And that was kind of a good segue into our January 9th. We're starting our How to Talk So Kids Listen podcast, or not podcast, workshop classes. And we're going to have it up on the website here probably this week. So January 9th, we'll be starting our 6-week course. I hope you can join us for that. And remember that we're on Facebook at Focused Healthy Family, Instagram at gina.focusedhealthyfamily. And
Remember, good morning. How you speak to your children today shapes their future and yours.
YouTube.
We got a thumbs up. Oh.
Hold on a minute. I'm trying to. How do I stop this? Shh. Just a minute. I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to stop it. What I'm showing isn't. I guess we stop the Zoom. That'll stop it.